So this is the broadcast tool here, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see in all its glory. You can see the notation. You can also see the engine evaluation next to each move, and also how long they spend.
What I like is you can make your own moves on the board. You can check the alternatives to what the players did. And even for the moves you make, you get the computer evaluation here.
Fantastic.
I think you get it quicker and better as a premium member, such as yours truly. What I also like, there is a chat function. You can exchange things with people from all over the world. If you want to see something else, let's say you're watching a tournament and you want to see all the games at once, no problem displaying. I have no idea how many games there are, like 128 games at the same time. You can do even more. This is a team competition. You click on multi-board.
That's beautiful.
You can see all the 8 games going on at once.
You can see the games and standings, which
What we got? I'll click around. Games and standings here.
Yeah. Analysis, if we click on that tab,
Let's click on it.
You can see that it's a great little graphical illustration. The red line is 0, that is the absolute even mark. And if the white bars go up, the further up they go, the bigger the advantage. And the black bars show a black advantage.
Then there's a database, and here we get the alternatives. And if we click on a move in the database, bam! It gets played on the board.
Fantastic. And then the PGN can even be downloaded.
I like that feature.
Yeah.
Whatever tournament or game you're following, you click it and you open it in the program of your choice.
Yeah, and one of the great things I like to see as well is when we get a video from the playing hall. I like to see them in their seats, nervous, you feel the tension, you feel like you're there, don't you?
Chess is really becoming a spectator's internet sport.
Great that we can see that. I also love to see the fact that we can get in some of our friends to join us during the broadcast. And it's all interactive, that's what we love. And
a lot of overview functions there.
A lot of great functions there, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you take advantage of all of them. Let's get back to the commentary.
Keep tweeting us, hashtag C24Live. We love to hear from you. Ask us anything, mainly about Lawrence life, but if you have other questions, they're also welcome.
Also send us anything you like about Jan, hashtag C24Live.
Absolutely.
And queen takes f3. Oh! What is going on? Oh, this is going to be a fortress. I just don't see any hopes at all. This is very easy. Just rook back and forth.
Taking chess to the next level.
Wow. Wow.
Wow, yeah. Nothing else to say. Wow.
Creating the future of the sport. Introducing the Champions Chess Tour. 10 months, 10 tournaments. The world's best players online and on TV.
Yeah. So hello everyone. Today I will have the pleasure to show you my most interesting games. Okay, one of the most interesting games, because actually it's difficult to decide what is interesting and what is not. Like, I have decided to show the games against quite a strong opposition. Yeah, probably the most interesting games. The most interesting game recently is the one against Magnus in Norway chess, but I believe that almost everyone has seen it already. So yeah, so we will just pass this game. Yeah, so the first game I want to show is against Vladimir Kramnik from Weigandze 2019. Actually, his last classical tournament. So yeah, let's go. E4, E5, knight F3, C6, bishop C4. Yeah, the Italian game. Yeah, and A4 and bishop G5. I actually played this for the first time back then and had like absolutely no clue about the positions arising. I just wanted to not to play Barin, which Vladimir obviously knew extremely well. So yeah, I decided to go for this line, but it was actually very risky choice and double-edged, because the arising positions are very complicated and difficult to navigate for humans, I believe. Yeah, so he played h6. Obviously, he could play h6 earlier, so that I don't have this bishop g5 idea. h6, bishop h4, g5, bishop g3, all standard stuff. Bishop a7, just not allowing white to play d4 with tempo. And bd2 and knight h7. Now I believe that kind of the main move here is like king g7. I mean, it's very subtle and it's difficult to actually it's difficult to say it's the main move, but I think it's quite the most popular one. Now black may choose knight h7, knight h7 or knight g8, depending on circumstances. And yeah, I mean, but it's very, very difficult actually, and I don't know why knight h7 is not played often. Like, obviously the main idea behind this move is to play f5 one day. Usually white is in time not to allow this with some queenside or center play like this before b5 or d4 at some moment. So yeah, but he went for knight h7. And I played h3, which is probably not the best move here. Recently against Alexande Grischuk I played before, which is obviously like very, very logical move with the idea of b5, d4. Yeah, but I think the main move from the most challenging move for black here is just to go king h1. This looks very timid at first, but the idea is just to be ready at some point and to have the possibility to go f4 maybe, because h5 looks like the natural follow-up, but then h4 is the idea actually. And yeah, black more or less has to play g4, because otherwise white just takes hg and bishop h4, and he's very comfortable on the king side. Yeah, but after g4 knight h2, white's idea can be clearly seen. Now f4 is on the agenda, and it's actually quite, or f3, and it's actually quite bad for black here, I think. So after king h1, I don't know, maybe perhaps king g7. Actually, in this position, black would love to have his knight on g6, but he's never on time, because knight e7 can be met by white can play d4 after that, so he's not on time. Yeah, but I played h3. As said, back in time I didn't have like much orientation of what is going on in these positions. h5 is natural. d4 is a standard break to open the center and try to get to the black king. Obviously easier said than done, but yeah, but white must play aggressively, because otherwise his bishop on g3 might be under attack, and his entire king side actually. And now black has two options, like going g4 or h4. He went for h4 first. yeah, g4 was also an option, and I mean, yeah, it's very complicated because white even has idea to have ideas to sacrifice his knight on f3 in some variations. Now I'm trying to recall what's the line actually, because I forgot to check it before. Yeah, bishop h4, I believe, queen d7, and now I don't know, d takes e5 if it makes sense, but there is something like this, gf and knight takes f3. It might be not this in this moment because after d takes e5 I don't see a follow-up. Okay, but I mean there are such ideas. Obviously, white has also some other ideas like going knight g5 or knight h2 even, and he doesn't mind at all sacrificing his pawn on d4. The most important thing is to just to complicate the position and try to attack black king, and d4 helps in that. Yeah, but my opponent went for h4, which is also a reasonable move for sure. Bishop h2 and g4. It might have been better bow for black to take on d4 first. I mean, I'm not sure, but he takes and only now g4 because the rising position after d takes e5, d takes e5, which will be in the game, is kind of very unpleasant for black, at least in my eyes. So maybe this was kind of sort of better. I don't know. I would expect to play bishop e2 here. Yeah, and it's very very complicated. But g4 was the move played. 8g, bishop takes g4, and d takes e5. Now I decided to destroy my center, but the point is that I stabilize the situation in center, and now I will just play before b5 next, and with that black will have serious problems with his knight. So I mean, after d takes e5, which was played in the game, because after knight takes e5, white just plays bishop e2, and maybe it's not that terrible for black actually, but I like white chances here. So d takes e5 and b4 was played, and now my opponent chose an attacking option, which was h3 here, but actually this is not the move that computer likes. They suggest that better would have been rook e8, the idea of just calmly defending the e5 pawn, but it's again very strange because after b5, knight a5, b takes a6 is one of the choices here, and now queen f6, for example, which is very strange move to me, at least. And after a takes b7, which is obviously not forced, and probably it's better to go bishop e2 here with white. A takes b7, rook a d8, and now after bishop e2 h3, suddenly black has the initiative, which is like, I mean, okay, rook a d8 is obviously the useful move, but he has sacrificed 2 pawns on the queen side. So yeah, and after knight takes e5, for example, bishop takes e2, queen takes e2, queen g7 is the move. It's a very strong move actually, and it's difficult to protect. I mean, on the king side, white has to sacrifice something, but it's obviously a computer generated variation, and it's not very likely that human would play it unless they know it before, obviously. And now I played b5. Computer screams that g takes h3 is much better, and basically winning, because after bishop takes h3 there is the idea of king h1. It's a very beautiful one to sacrifice the exchange, but white just wants to checkmate black. And after bishop takes f1, queen takes f1, white just want to play b5, queen h3, for example, followed by rook g1. Yeah, and it's very, knight takes e5 is also on the agenda all the time, and it's very it's actually bad for black here. Okay, one random variation I chose here is king h8, b5. Yeah, queen h3 was also as an option, as said. Knight a5, queen h3, takes f6, and knight c takes on e5, and it's close to game over for black. The queen e8, rook d1. White wants to invade, and f takes e5 doesn't help doesn't really help because of bishop takes e5 check. So yeah, but I played b5, which allows black to play knight a5. That's why computer don't like it, but white is still better here, I believe. And in general, I never liked this knight on a5 in these structures. I had a similar game against Anish Giri from Grand Chess Tour in Paris, but in that game he was like, I don't know, 10 tempies ahead. In contrast to this game, so he was comfortable, but still he lost the game in the end. And I think it's like, okay, I just don't like the knight on a5. Maybe it's not that terrible, but just don't like it. And after bishop e2, now white threatens to take on e5, so g8 is the move, and now king h1, very slow move, but white wants black to take on g2, and now he has to actually, because g takes h3 and rook g1 is very unpleasant. So h takes, king takes, queen f6, and rook g1 now is a nice idea, with the idea of playing king f1 and even king e1 in some cases, and white's king is absolutely safe here in the center, and black is not quite. I mean, white wants to play bishop g3, possibly followed by bishop h4, or rook h1 is also a threat there. So yeah, it's okay, it's better for white, but not winning objectively. Yeah, but he chose knight e7, and I again had the option of going king h1 here. I had seen this idea for sure, but I just wasn't sure about it. I mean, it's very easy to sacrifice in the analysis and so on, but I mean, classical game against the former world champion is a different thing. Yeah, but this is just apparently just crashing. So yeah, I won't dwell on it that much this time. Okay, it's very similar to the previous variation. I took on e5, which is also the reasonable option. Yeah, now knight g6 would have been the best according to the machine, but after queen h5, white is nevertheless better, because knight takes e5, queen takes h3, and white is just a pawn up at the moment, because after queen takes e2, there is obviously bishop takes e5, and yeah, white is just pawn up. King g7 is, which was played in the game, is not good according to the engine, but now I should have gone for queen h5. I can't really recall if I had calculated this move or not. Like, I mean, it's very difficult to to navigate in such positions. For example, one variation is like completely random in my eyes, because after the bishop takes f1, knight takes f1, knight g6, white just wants to install his knight on f5, and black wants to to exchange queens, so that the attack should be a bit weaker. But after queen takes g5, knight takes g5, white still has the initiative. Knight takes knight f5 check, king h7, and king g2, followed by rook h1. And after knight takes e4, knight g4, and according to the machine, white is winning. But I guess still rook h1 is the idea here. But the variation is like very strange. I mean, nobody can play like this. So knight takes f7 is obviously the sensible option. After rook takes f7, bishop takes f7. Black obviously can't take on f7 because of queen h5 check. So bishop takes f1 is more or less forced. And now bishop b3. This is important to keep this light square bishop. Bishop h3 and bishop e5 check was played. Queen h5 is not better, because black has bishop takes f2, which is a very important move. And after, for example, king h1, knight g6, black for the moment is a piece up, and white has to play very precisely to prove compensation. So bishop e5 is natural, knight f6, yeah, bishop takes f6, king takes f6, and queen f3 check. Yeah, and now my opponent, yeah, played the very bad move actually, and it's difficult to say why he chose to play bishop f5, because after bishop f5 with d1 it's basically game over. After the game, he said that in one variation he wanted to play queen g8 check, forgetting that there is just bishop take g8. Maybe it's the moment here, I don't know. But yeah, actually it's very, yeah, Vladimir wasn't in the best form in this tournament. So yeah, such things happens at times when you are in bad form. And yeah, but I mean, it's basically game over at the stage after rook d1. So after king g7, it's not so easy. I have a perpetual if I want. After queen f7, king h6, I don't know, queen f4, king g7. For example, queen f7 is the perpetua, but I can play obviously with white, king h2. And suddenly black is defending with only moves, starting with knight g6. After queen f7 check, king h6, rook g1, black has again the only move bishop f5, which is obviously very difficult to calculate. I mean, very in advance. But in the given situation, it makes sense, yeah, because black defends himself and wants to play queen h4 check. And according to the engine, this position is this drawish actually. Yeah. Actually, yeah, I am. Okay, let me. Okay, now it should be fine, I believe. I can't. Yeah, but I mean, what to do here? Yeah, so there was some technical issues apparently, but now it seems to be fine. Yeah, and after this queen f5, queen h4 check, it's just an end game, and black is fine. Despite being at the moment 2 pawns down, he obviously recaptures one and on f2, and it's very, very equal. Yeah, partly because of opposite color bishops here. Rook f8 here, or 8 takes b5 first, and only then rook f8 is fine for black. Well, actually, after king g7, I wonder what I would play. I mean, it's very, very, very difficult actually to say what will be the case in that game. But after bishop f5, rook d1 is, as said, basically game over. Yeah, queen c8 is one of the best defenses here. A takes f5, queen takes f5, knight d4 check, king g7, and now queen takes f5 is very, I think, human approach just to just go to the end game with 2 extra pawns, and because black is losing one on c7 as well. Computer screams again that queen g2 check is much better. After queen g6, knight g5 is it's very winning, but I mean it's unnecessary, I think, to play like this, especially in time trouble, because when you play in this manner, accidents do happen more often. So queen takes f5, rook d7 check. Yeah, I included b takes a6, rook takes c7. Oh, white is obviously winning with 2 extra pawns, and his pieces are not very active either. Like his rook on a8 is especially like very bad piece. So he played bishop b8, at least defending the a6 pawn. Now I would obviously love to play rook c8, but it's not possible at all because of bishop h2 check. One always needs to be alert. Such tricks, but rook f7, knight h4, rook f6 check. Now, I mean, obviously many moves win, but what I did seems reasonable to me. King g7, king f1, just yeah, sidestepping some checkmates motifs. a7, rook b6, bishop d5. White is very active, and black's rook is again very passive. He didn't have a chance to play rook b8. Knight g6, c4, yeah, just pushing the pawn forward. Knight f4, bishop b7. Yeah, and after knight d3, I played this because I had seen that after knight d3 there is bishop a6, which is winning, but it is winning because of if black plays knight takes c5, I just take, and rook b7 check is totally winning now because two pawns are very, very far away from each other, and there is no idea of the wrong corner. So why is straightforwardly winning here? Yeah, and Vladimir, so this decided to go bishop takes c5, but bishop takes c5 loses almost instantly because of rook e6, knight f4, knight takes c5, and white just in time after knight takes e6, knight takes e6, king f6, knight c5, and everything defends itself, and yeah, it's very, 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 very winning for white. So he chose rook c7, but after rook b4, I'm a piece up and two pawns still, so he resigned. Yeah, and that was a nice game, very, very complicated one. That was my first experience in this very variation. I do play regularly against the strong opposition, but back then, okay, it was the beginning of the journey, one can say. So now I will show my game against Alexander Grischuk. I think it's one of the most spectacular games, at least in my recent games. It was played in Grand Chess Tour in Paris, the tournament in which I beat Alexander 3 times in our three games, which was very, very, very surprising actually to everyone, including me. But after this tournament, Alexander became the difficult opponent to me, and for example, in November 2019, I lost in the final of Grand Prix in Hamburg. Yeah, but this game is the most spectacular, and I actually won it partly because of a good preparation, I think. Okay, let's show the game. Knight f3, d5, c4, d4. Before that was, at that time, I exclusively played knight f3, c4, just hoping that black plays d4. After before the position are usually very complicated, especially after his move f6. I mean, it's a very topical move, but it's very, very sharp, and one needs to remember a lot of theory actually. So e3, c5, e3, e5, c5 now, a5. That's very, very strange play with pawns, but yeah, black has big center, and white on the other hand has beautiful pawns on the queen side. Especially in the bishop on f8 now is quite a bad piece. It doesn't have any prospects, so black wants to activate it as well as the rook on a8. Yeah, and now queen a4 check is the main move. Yeah, and Alexander went for queen d7, which is the sideline actually. Bishop d7 is the main move. I even happened to play in 2014. I also had absolutely no clue about this position, and I don't remember how it was possible that this position happened in my game with black. Bishop d7 is the main move, and after which b5 is the move, and bishop takes c5. I just wanna point out that after bishop c4, black needs to know the only trap in this position, and after some mild move, like bishop g4, for example, bishop g8 is is a trick. And after rook takes g8, queen c4, and white wins the piece. So yeah, that's the only trick, but obviously black can play like knight e7 here, and it's yeah, and it's a very, very complicated position with a lot of fury, as said, and it's objectively fine for black, but it's very, very difficult to play for both sides. Yeah, but he went for queen d7, and queen d7 is a very ambitious move, actually, because yeah, now b5 is worse, so white has to play bishop b5. After c6, bishop c4. White says that okay, c6 is not a good move for black. Just knight on b8 is stuck now. Yeah, but my opponent played knight a6, the move which I think is dubious. At least I had it in my notes as dubious, annotated as dubious. D takes e3 is interesting here. D takes e3 is interesting here, and after f takes e3, queen g4, b5, queen takes g2, rook f1. This position is totally insane, very, very complicated, and I have no idea what is going on, to be honest. But I think this d takes e3 might be the critical move here. And yeah, I mean, it's very complicated, and it's difficult actually to like analyze it without engine, because I mean everything is hanging, and but white has advantage in development, so I think his chances in practical game are quite good. Yeah, and I also will show one nice variation after knight d7. This is another move, and white is better after nice sequence of moves of starting with e takes d4, knight d5, and b5. Yeah, white in general should keep his queen side pawns, because they are very, very threatening, especially as my game will show. Yeah, so he should never like trade on a5 or something like this. And after knight f4, which looks scary, long castling is not good, because yeah, because of just trying to, okay, knight takes g2 is the move here, I believe. Also queen g4 might be good, forcing knight d1, and only now something like knight h3 check, maybe queen d4 or knight takes f2 first, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, okay, now maybe g takes h3 and knight c3, so yeah, so that's bad for me. Yeah, so knight takes g2, I believe, is the reason why this is not so good, but king f1 is better, because after knight takes g2, white doesn't capture on g2, but has a beautiful move h3. It's very strong here, just yeah, blocking the access to the king side for the black queen. I mean, queen g4, queen h3 is no longer possible. After e4, knight e1, yeah, white is just better, because black obviously can take on d4 because of bishop f7 check. Yeah, and white, black has problems with development here. His pieces are almost all on the last line, and it's like he can't even castle, like neither king side nor queen side. So yeah, it's pretty bad for black here. I mean, white is better here. It was one nice variation at knight d7. Obviously, it's not forced at all. Knight a6 is also very logical, putting yeah, additional pressure on the queen side. So e takes d4, e4, b5. That's the line I, yeah, obviously had known before, and now knight b4 was played. After knight b4, nice position arise. So I'm happy that Alexander was so played in so principal manner in this game. E takes f3 was an alternative, and after b takes a6, after g2, rook g1, b5 is the nice move, which kind of holds the game for black. But still, white is, I think, better after c takes b6, bishop takes a6, and rook takes g2. Yeah, but again, as you can see, it's very, very complicated, very random. I mean, white's pawn structure is sort of funny, but nevertheless, he was like he was pawn up at the moment, so that counts for something. And after knight b4, a3 is the move. B takes c3, sorry, B takes c6 is also possible, and only now a3, but it's just less fun, I think. Okay, the position is very similar to the one in the game, but in the game we had the extra pair of pawns on b5 and b7. Yeah, a3. E takes f3 was played. Yeah, knight d5 it was also an option, but I think white is just better after knight g1, knight f4, and king f1 here. Yeah, because white wants to develop and black has difficulties in it, as said earlier. So a3 takes e3 is like the most natural, and a takes b4, queen takes d4. It's very obvious stuff, and d3. Yeah, and queen takes queen e5 check was played. F takes g2 is also an option. After rook g1, okay, knight e7 I have some variation from my notes because queen e5 would transpose to the game. Knight e7, bishop e3. Yeah, and here white is just much better because his queen set is very threatening, and he is much ahead in development, while black's pawn on g2 is not that threatening at the moment. Obviously, it might be after knight f4, knight h4, but it's a long way to go, and in the meantime, white should have something to stop this plan. So queen e5 was played, bishop e3, f takes g2, rook g1, and now my opponent deviated from the variation by playing knight e7. I had never seen knight e7 before, and was on my own already after that move. Queen takes h2 is obviously the natural move, but after b takes c6, white is much better, or almost winning, one can say, because queen takes g1 check. If b5, then just c takes b6, bishop takes b4, knight c3, bishop takes c6, king e2, and yeah, white is much better because of b7 and c7 threats. Black's king is an open one. Yeah, so queen takes g1 is natural, but then king d2 and b5. Again, if king d8, then knight c3, queen takes a1. It was the game, I think, of Hillary person against somebody. But now c7 is a strong improvement, I think. King c7, knight d5, and king d8, queen takes a1. And even though black has like 2 rooks and a couple of pawns for the queen, white is completely winning because of his development. And yeah, black's miserable king. So after king to b5 is also an option, but c takes b6, bishop takes b4, knight c3. Yeah, queen h2. I think this was sort of Hillary person game, and now c7 check is the improvement. King away and queen c6, and white is just winning because black can't protect his rook on 8. Yeah, so that was nice variation I was hoping for. My opponent instead played knight e7. Yeah, and okay, it was the rapid game, I forgot to say, so there is a little bit a little time, so I mean in comparison to classical games. So yeah, I was on my own, and it was not very pleasant actually in this position. Like, it's totally random and complicated, and nobody knows what is going on. I chose knight d2 with the cool idea that after queen takes h2 there is a long castle, but the computer doesn't approve and says that rook takes g2 is better. Yeah, the simplest move in the position. I just wanted, to be cool, to have the possibility of castling long and just saying black, what are you gonna do with that pawn on g2? I mean, I safely blockading it, but yeah, here rook g2 is better, and after bishop d7, like knight d2 here, for example, is good, and after knight d4 is white is close to winning, I think. But knight d2 was played, and bishop d7, queen takes h2, long castle. That was my idea, and after bishop d7, computer claims that only b takes c6, and rook d1 pro some advantage for white here. And after other options, there are infamous zeros. But I mean, it's very, very difficult to play this with black. Everyone would be much rather white here, I think. Bishop d7, and now I play objectively the bad move. B takes a5. I just wanted to have my queenside majority going and just aiming to play a6 one day. And I don't really regret taking on a5 because that pawns won the game later on. But rook takes g2, transposing to earlier position would have been much better for white. Now after b takes a5, knight d5. Also knight d5 is the move. I mean, it's very similar. Actually, after knight f5, white always plays knight f3, and after knight d5, white almost always plays d4. So it differs somewhat. But yeah, here is some variation, like engine variation. After queen b2, it's totally unclear. Like white can repeat the position after bishop c1, and it might be actually the way to go because I don't see how else he can play after rook a2. Okay, after rook a2, queen b1, king e2, there is knight d4 check, but there is also c takes b5, very unpleasant, I think, and black should be okay, can be better. So actually, bishop c1 is probably the way to play. I mean, just to settle for a draw. But knight d5 is also okay for black. I mean, okay, computer now claims that bishop d5, queen takes d5, b6 is the best for white with a slight advantage for him. Yeah, I find this very like counterintuitive, anti-positional, and so on, because nobody wants to give light square bishop in such position. And yeah, and I mean, okay, b6 is also kind of strange because at the moment blocks the queen side. Obviously, the a6 is on the agenda, and black always must to recon with it. But it's yeah, very, very strange. d4, what I played in the game, looks more natural to me. Okay, queen takes h2, knight f3. It's all very complicated. And after the queen h5, I decided to play a6, just to blow up the position, one can say. Yeah, I mean, it's totally insane by now, and now black has actually many decent moves, I think. For example, knight takes e3 seems to be a forced draw. Obviously, it was difficult to calculate, and I think I didn't like realize it was a forced draw. Knight takes b7, rook takes a4, b8, king e7, and here, according to the machine, white has to settle for a draw after queen d6, king 8, queen b8. And yeah, king e7, because other options are, for some reason, losing for white. Rook takes a4 looks very appealing, to me. Like, yeah, so knight takes e4 is an issue, though. Yeah, and black's king escapes. Yeah, so knight e3 was one option. King e7 was probably a very strange move. I think the idea is just to leave the 8th rank so that the b8 promotion is not with check. It's like very, very odd move, and white might be better actually after this. Yeah, but bishop d6 is also the beautiful move here. Yeah, very, 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 very complicated move to play. I mean, very difficult move to play. And yeah, after c takes d6, queen takes f3, black is fine. But yeah, bishop d6 is very, 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 very strange move to play. But obviously it has it's kind of logical in a way, because the b8 square is now protected, and white and black want just to castle next. So yeah, but he played bishop e7, which is also fine objectively, but it allowed me to take on b7 here, which is very spectacular way to play and objectively good. Rook takes a4, rook takes a4, and castling. Castling is not approved by the machine for some reason. King f7 is better. I don't know what's the difference actually between king f7 and castling. And rook a8, similar to the game. Queen takes f3, rook takes h8. Yeah, maybe the reason is that this capture is without check. Yeah, that's the difference, I think. Yeah, and now okay, queen e4 is perpetual. Very, very difficult one to see, I think. I mean, on the long time. And now after white can't escape really. Here is some exemplary variation. yeah, king takes g2, queen h3 mate is not to be recommended. So queen f4, yeah, king e4, and now actually black can play other moves, but queen g6 is still perpetual. Yeah, so that was an option. Queen e4, bishop g4 looks more natural, just threatening checkmate d1, queen d1. So king d2 now. And after c takes b5, I mean, it's yeah, very complicated, but it's objectively a draw. After promotion, there is b takes c4 and queen g8 check, king g6, queen h7. Yeah, so now, yeah, white has to again settle for a draw because queen e8 check is met by king f5, and the king escapes actually, and it's winning, and it's winning for black. So I assume only now I see that after rook h4, I think the variation is queen e2, king c1, and king d3. And that's very spectacular. Yeah, I think it's working for black. Oh no, there is queen a4. Oh, I don't know, but maybe queen a4, knight c3, something like this. Maybe there is also something else for black, but yeah, but this is not good for white in either case. So he, I mean, okay, bishop. So he has to take, yeah, play queen h7 here with a draw, and bishop b3 is another option here. And after queen e2, king c1, queen f1, king b2, queen e2 check, white can't escape the checks, so it's again a draw. Yeah, castle, rook a8. It's very similar, and black should now take on b5. It's probably the only way to stay in the game here. I think we both calculated this move, but it's very difficult and next to impossible, I think, to evaluate all the options correctly. Because okay, rook takes f8, bishop takes f8, and now bishop b3. Yeah, I was actually wondering for a second what's after bishop e2, but bishop e2 is just a losing mistake because of queen e8. So white has to keep an eye on the d5 knight. But now again, queen takes f3 is the idea, and b8 queen, bishop g4, queen takes b5, and now h5, just playing positional chess. And yeah, h4, h3 is the idea, and it's very complicated because after c6, black can play king h7, and white can't take the knight on d5 because of maybe king h8 is better, I don't know, because of checkmate d1. But after h5, king d2, and now king h8. Yeah, I assume king h8 is better, not to allow any checks on the b1 h7 diagonal. Yeah, and I mean, it's very complicated in terms of human evaluation, but objectively it's 0-0-0. So I assume there is a repetition somewhere. But he played rook e8, which is not good. It's actually losing move. It looks very natural to stop white. I mean, not to allow white to get a new queen here. But now king d2 is a very strong move, with the idea of just going to rook ga1 and rook a8, and yeah, and that's actually the one idea, and the second was playing the game. Okay, my opponent played king f8, and now rook e8 wins as well, because after queen takes e8, bishop takes d5 is the move, and after c takes d5, there is bishop f4, and there is no stopping b8. Yeah, so, and obviously, I mean, other moves are also bad, like queen b8, for example, b takes c6 is just winning with so many passed pawns in far advance. And now he tried a nice trick, actually, bishop d8. Yeah, I mean, okay, I had a couple of minutes, so yeah, so I calculated it. But I mean, if I was on down on seconds, I think it could work, because it's a very tricky move. Just aiming to play bishop a5 check. Yeah, but now bishop f4. I calculated that bishop f4 is just winning, because after bishop a5, king d1, there is there are no threats at all. I mean, to white king is safe, and b8 queen is either with check or just just trading queens. So white is winning. Yeah, and he resigned after king d1, and that was a very special game. Obviously a very nice one, as you can see. And yeah, I mean, it's very nice that my opponent played so like ambitiously. And yeah, I mean, okay, I knew, I mean, some ideas in this variation, couldn't quite recall them, I mean, all of them. But okay, knight e7 was a surprise. I didn't have that move covered, so that was on my own. Even though we didn't play like objectively the best, the best moves all the time, I think it was a very nice game to show. So okay, now I think it will be time for the last game. I have 3 games, so I will choose one game from them. Okay, maybe I will choose the game from 2018 Olympiad against Levon Aronian. In that Olympiad, I was playing for the first time on the first board in Polish team, and I basically had, one can say, the candidates tournament, because we played all the top 8 teams in that Olympiad. In the end, eventually finishing on the miserable fourth place. And I played against many strong opponents, like, I don't know, Aronian, Caruana, Ivanchuk, Maxim Vasilograf, Ding, Mamedjarov, and so on. So it was a very special tournament for me. Vichy Anand in the last round. So yeah, it was a very special tournament for me. And I think this game ended a draw. I was playing with black pieces this time, and I think that game was very spectacular, and it gave me some boost. Because actually I was in trouble after the opening, but managed to find a nice saving idea. Even though I annotated this game somewhere, I just lost for some reason. The annotation. So I will just try to commentate like from the head now. Okay, c4, e5. Yeah, as far as I remember, c4 was very unpleasant surprise. Like, I expected Levon to play d4 and d4, and I learned like ton of variations literally, and it was very big for me. And c4 was kind of disappointing. Yeah, because at that time it was easy to trick me actually with c4, because I was likely to play knight f6, e6, and after knight f6, knight c3, they scared me all the time with this floor mechanism variation, which I was like never never going to play with black for some reason. So okay, c4, e5. I chose. I mean, I'm not an e5 player in this English, but okay, decided to go for the closed system, like reverse closed Sicilian. Okay, now white is tempo up, so it's better for him, but I mean, black should be objectively fine here. Okay, rook b1 also, I think, kind of surprised me, because I played in some earlier rounds against Vasily Ivanchuk, and I wanted to play this variation with white, but was like checking other alternatives, and rook b1 somehow didn't occur to me, even though it's like a very classical move. I think Karpov Kasparov or something. I mean, this move was played. So yeah, but okay, d6. It's and again, that was in 2018. I was like pointing out that black can always play a5, and after a5, a3. Okay, black opens the a line, so it's okay. It might be good, but it may backfire as well, because the rook is kind of active, but it also opens, I mean, the queen side, the side where white is better. So I don't know. I think that in general it was advisable for black, because later I did it actually in a slightly different position. Yeah, because the idea here for black is, okay, I will say that later. But the idea is to try to get to d5, like knight c, e7, c6, and d5. Okay, d6, b4, f5, b5, knight c7, d3. I expected him to play e3, where white can play d4. I mean, not wasting time for d3, but yeah, it's not a big deal. So d3. knight f6, e3, castle, knight g2. Okay, all developing moves, and now g5. I think g5 is kind of a mistake here. Yeah, and in general, it's advisable for black to go for c6, d5 here, but I think it's much better to do it without the a pawns. So I assume a6. A6 is the best move here. And after a4, because after white obviously can take on b7. After b takes a6, rook takes a6, rook bishop takes b7, because there is stakes, and queen a8, just winning the rook. After, I don't know, queen b3, rook b6, for example. So he can do it. And now, I mean, after a6, a4, I takes b5, I takes b5, c6. Black wants to play d5, and it's fine for him, I think. But I rushed with g5. Actually, it's better to play g5 if white castles kingside, because now after g5 there is f4. I think even better for white here than with the king on g1. Yeah, and okay, in my early years, I mean, I was taught that if black takes g takes f4, white should take e takes f4, and if black takes e takes f4, white should take vice versa and g takes f4. Yeah, but actually after I chose e takes f4, but actually I think that e takes f4 here is better move, just because it just like kills the game, like kills my attack on the king side, and yeah, and it's pretty. Maybe h6 was the move. Now I'm thinking about it, but it's also kind of slow, and after casting, I don't know, but at least it would keep some pressure here, because in the game after e takes f4, e takes f4, g4. Okay, now he castled, so like black has, I mean, no play, no attack on the king side whatsoever. Yeah, and it's kind of bad because I'm like deprived of all the central squares. White has big positional advantage on the queen side. I mean, he has much more space. So yeah, so now I decided to play h5, h4 and see what comes later. Okay, rook b1, very subtle move. Okay, bishop e3, for example, was also possible. I mean, many moves are possible here. h4, bishop e3, a6. Now I decided to play a6 just to open the just to get my rook into play. Okay, 4. Even black white can capture with the c pawn. It's also fine according to the machine. Yeah, but a takes b5 is very natural. Like white is obviously much better. I mean, since after g5, so whatever he plays is basically good for him. Yeah, and I remember that I was like trying to get something like this. That after h3 he has to go for some reason bishop h1, not bishop f1, and then c6, and later on d5. That was my big idea to limit the scope of this light square bishop. It's still not a dead bishop at all, because this pawn d5 is also its constant protection. But yeah, I was hoping to get something like this, but I mean, it never works really. And yeah, and also there is move bishop f1, but I think actually bishop h1 is better, because the bishop is more active on h1 than on f1. So so yeah, I mean, now it's difficult for black to move, so I went for c6. Yeah, and Levon instantly uses the fact that my b6 square is weakened and plays knight a4. Yeah, and knight b6 is very unpleasant, but I mean, it's also, there is basically no stopping this knight b6 move, because I mean, okay, some move like knight d7 must be bad for black. I assume just takes, and knight d4 might be an issue here. Knight takes c6 and knight d6 are threatened, so yeah, I had to allow this. Also, bishop e6 is the move, but yeah, but bishop e6 again, knight d4, it's unpleasant. So rook f7, I played this move like, okay, I think it's a good preparatory move. Like, I'm not sure what exactly it gives black, but like black can always play bishop f8, maybe then g6 one day, and At least, I mean, at least he's protecting some squares, some vital squares in his camp. So yeah, rook f7 was played. Bishop f2 is nice, a little move, improving the position and not letting black rook to play, I mean, to jump on a3, on a2. But I played knight h5 here. I don't know if that's such a brilliant move, but at least, I mean, I'm opening my the diagonal for my bishop. That's my probably only real asset in this position. Yeah, and only now knight b6, rook a3. Okay, I remember I wrote in my comments that this rook is not very great here, but I mean, at least it can be attacked, harassed easily. And yeah, that's the case indeed. Yeah, now it was a very positional game, like nothing serious was going on, but now it gets like crazy in a couple of moves because my opponent decided to play and to take on c6 and play knight d4. And now knight takes c6 is a serious threat, as well as some rook takes e7 now. It's also might be also the idea. Yeah, and I mean, okay, when bishop reaches c6 is very bad for black because rook e8 check and bishop d5 are serious threats. And also white can play knight e6 here, or for example, after knight takes c8, and knight e6 is very unpleasant. Okay, it's not losing instantly for black, but still, I mean, it's kind of positional threat. So now I had to do something. Okay, I took on g3 first, and now played rook a2 with the idea I played in the game. Yeah, and my opponent, probably didn't, probably missed something because he played knight takes c6, which objectively is a good move for white, but it gets very complicated, and I think that he would never allow this. I mean, there is no point in allowing this at all with white here. I think just knight takes c8 is very strong. I mean, okay, it's quite good. Queen takes c8 and knight e6. White is much better. I mean, everything in white's position is better than black's. So, okay, for example, after bishop c3, just to trade something. I mean, it's very sad position for black. Yeah, but he took on c6, and that allowed me to do a combination after knight takes c6, bishop takes c6, and rook takes f2. It's the only chance. And it's suddenly it's very complicated, and it's he had a lot of time. I remember, like 50 minutes. So there was a risk that if there is a big hole here, he would just I mean, calculate it and find a win. But okay, still had to go for it because my position was so bad that I had to do such desperado. Okay, king takes f2 here is the only move actually, because rook e8 I think is bad because of taking and bishop d4, and white and black's bishop is just too strong. I mean, trio, and bishop d4, rook f2, and knight h5. So king takes f2 is the move, and bishop d4 check, king g2 is kind of forced. Knight takes f4 was the idea. Now g takes f4, queen h4 is very bad for white, I think, because queen f2 and queen h3 are threatened, and I think there is no defense for white. So he had to play king f1, but now it's but now it looks hopeless for black because, okay, knight on f4 is hanging, rook e8 is in the air. Also bishop d5 is an unpleasant move. Yeah, and at first I thought bishop takes b6 might be the move here, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because after bishop takes b6, rook e8 check is not so good because takes and rook h7. I think black has enough counterplay here because after rook h1 is now checkmate in 1. So rook takes b6 is not good because rook h1 check and rook takes d1, and black is better. So g takes f4 is also yeah, possibly is also not so good because rook h1 check, rook h2 later on, and I think it's I think black has enough even compensation if in some slow play, because even if he recaptures the queen at one moment, because his bishops are very strong and this g pawn is also a strong one. So bishop, but after bishop b6 there is an issue, but why can play c5 first, just to block the diagonal or open the diagonal a2 g8. That's a serious issue, I think, because now after bishop takes c5 there is, I assume, rook e8 check, and now it should be much worse version for black actually, because after rook h7 yeah, actually it's difficult to recall the analysis from 2 years ago, but yeah, because after queen b3 there is bishop e6, so maybe it's, but I think c5 was the reason why I didn't choose this option. Yeah, but I mean, it's very complicated. But after instead of c5, there also queen b3 first, I think, is winning as well, because bishop on b6 is hanging, and yeah, rook h7 now is not threat because rook h1 is no longer possible with bishop on c6. So yeah, I mean, okay, so I calculated that c5 and queen b3 were winning here. Now I mean, I don't quite see it, to be honest, but that was my first idea, to take on b6, but I realized there is a hole in it. So I was looking for something else, and thought of a very beautiful move, I believe, bishop b7. Yeah, that's a very good practical choice. Yeah, because now I'm again struggling to see what's the idea after this. Okay, black at least have perpetual after this, because there is nothing better for white to do, but it might be even something better for black. I think maybe rook h7 here now. G takes. Yeah, and even bishop f3 I think is winning here. Yeah, might be the case, because the king seems to be trapped. And okay, there is promotion that wins in the end, yeah, but okay, maybe it's not the most the cleanest variation, but still it's winning for black. So yeah, it was not an option. So it was rook e8 was not an option for white here, but I think queen a4 was kind of, I mean, white was much better after this move. And actually I didn't see this move. I was happy because bishop takes b7, which was played in the game, was my main concern. And yeah, and queen a4 I didn't quite spot. Like, my opponent was thinking for, I don't know, 15 minutes or something, and yeah, and I was like, what he's thinking about? I mean, that's very that was very ridiculous actually. But yeah, queen a4, and after some random computer sequence, I think white is better, but it's like very difficult, and not something he would normally allow. I mean, in the position he had before. Yeah, but he took on b7, and after bishop takes b7, there is only one way to just to clinch the game, and it's neither rook b7 nor bishop takes b6, but just a calm move at h5. That's a brilliant stuff. And yeah, apparently white has nothing better than go for king g2, because bishop d5 is not working at all, because knight takes g3, king g2, queen h4. Okay, let's say takes actually wondering, okay, rook e7 maybe just takes on e7, bishop e5. There is after rook h1, knight takes h1, and he can't take on h1 because of queen f2 checkmate. Yeah, so that's not an option for him, and he basically just, and there is even no better move. I mean, bishop d5 looks like the best, but apart of king g2, but it's not working, so he had to play king g2, and after that I have again at the 4 check. That's beautiful. I mean, kind of very random at the same time, but very beautiful repetition, because g takes f4 is not an option. Queen h4, and yeah, again queen f2, queen f2 and queen h3 can be avoided really. So he had to play king f1 and knight h5, and yeah, and it was just a draw after king g2. Yeah, so in that game I was very lucky to escape actually, but I mean the way I escaped was very beautiful, I think, and quite spectacular, but also like unexpected, because this knight h5, knight f4 idea is not something you see every day. And yeah, I was very happy with that, and okay, at least we didn't lose the match against Armenia. I think it ended in a draw 2-2. So yeah, that was quite something. Obviously, Leon Arena was one of the toughest, most tough opponents for me there, because also I was playing with black, because against Mamedjarov, for example, Caruana and Lipanchko was playing with white pieces. So yeah, but that gave me some boost of confidence, obviously, and that was a very memorable experience for me. So yeah, with that game, I'm finishing showing my most interesting games. Okay, there were some. I mean, I've played, calmly speaking, I've played many interesting games in my career, but I mean, it's difficult to choose the most interesting. But I think the ones I chose are pretty good. I mean, pretty interesting, and yeah, and I hope you had fun watching this, and yeah, thank you for your time and attention, and see you soon.